back on the Will Sims podcast. I got my buddy Brad Cox back in the studio today.
Oh, we're doing this.
Yeah, we're going. Should I do like we did last time where I put the intro to the Mog in there?
Absolutely.
Because I did at least have one or two people that were like, that was pretty funny.
It was funny.
They did that.
I went back and listened to it. It was actually one of my favorite interviews that I've done. I've done a couple podcasts, and the Will Sims podcast was, Who is Will Sims podcast was great, man. You did a great job. Thanks,
man. It's good to have you back. I always say, like, doing your podcast was like one of the things where I was like
I can do this.
Like, I loved how you did it, and I was like, if I can get somewhere close to that, then it would be worth doing. So
at the time, I remember when you came on, it was like a Friday night, and I was out in the garage having a cigar, and you showed up, and it was like 11:30 at night, and we ended up riffing until like 1 in the morning, and we just kept going and going and going. So you're easy to talk to, you know. So that makes it for a good podcast host.
Thanks. I mean, I try to be good at conversation, but then there's definitely times where I can get real awkward if my brain gets trippy. But you know, Mark, we were talking about Mark from Purple Moose, and he said the same thing. Like,
Zelensky,
he's like, it's amazing how many people he'll get on that radio show, and they can't have like a conversation with people. And it's funny because I've done it a few times, and usually it'll devolve into like me and Schwab, I think is the guy, other host on there. We'll be talking about breakfast cereal or Pop-Tarts or something like that. And it's just like, all right, like, love to talk about my music, but sure, let's talk about, you know, our favorite breakfast cereals.
Schwab's great. He's got a real quick wit. And then having Maddie?
Madison,
yeah. Maddie. Sorry, Maddie. But just that dynamic between the two is great.
Yeah.
They do a good job with the show.
But I love doing that show. That's so much fun.
I remember at a time it was Marla, and she did the Sand Jam. And when you did it, you basically literally just sat in the room like this, and then you played the song through like the microphones that were on the table. So Mark's trying to, I think, upgrade the setup a little bit.
Yeah, get a little bit more modernized.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, you've been staying pretty busy. I mean, you're still doing the Mog on the regular.
Yeah,
I see you posting episodes pretty regularly.
It's been a little bit less because those live shows take a lot of work, and I have one coming up this Thursday. So I was doing them once a week, and now with that, I kind of do like maybe 2 a month, like one live one with the big show, because those take a lot of time to edit.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to have just like a sloppy mix of their performance. So I really try to do a good job with the editing, and then I do like one regular episode a month. So that's
nice.
I mean, I have other things going on too, and I'm back at the college doing like the cultural events. So that puts me. I'm working a lot of weekends.
Yeah. What led to you starting to do the live Mog things? Because I think it's such an awesome idea, and I definitely would love to have a live music element to this podcast too. But
it started a long time ago. I dropped a seed into the guys. Originally what it was going to be was I was just going to go up to Reb Records like on a Sunday afternoon, and I was going to set up the podcast and just do the live podcast. People could shop, and the guys would just be managing, doing their thing, but I would be just doing a podcast in the back. And then that never came to fruition. And then like 6-7 months later, Jason Shalou, who's one of the main guys there, he's like, hey man, I want to talk to you about something. And we got together for lunch at Vagabonds, and he's like, what do you think about doing the podcast at Reb Records? I was like, well, it's definitely something that's been on my mind. I'd love to. He's like, what do you think if we made it like a show too? I was like, and then we just started riffing back and forth and came up with a formula, and it's just basically like a little mini local Tonight Show is what we tried to make it, you know. So
yeah, it's awesome. I'm really hoping that we don't get snowed out on Thursday because
it doesn't look like it's going to happen now.
Yeah. That's typical Maryland weather for you.
It's supposed to be 13 inches, and now it's not even snowing on like the little weather app. Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Yeah,
well, that's awesome, man. I'm happy that the pod is still going and that it's evolving.
Yeah,
and it's hope to see more of that. But in addition to the pod, you've been putting out music pretty steadily this year. I mean,
it's been a lot of music this
like
year.
Collaborations. Skitzo Calypso's put out new music. I mean, and then I don't think you've put out anything new for Veteran Avenue yet in like a minute, have you?
If I have, it was at the very tail end of last year.
Yeah.
So I've been putting stuff out under my name, under Skitzo Calypso, and then the collabs. So.
Yeah, you were talking the other day about songs performed, so I was like listening to a playlist, and that song Sevens came on from We Love the Underground. And what's funny about that song is every time I go to Tony's studio, he's got that keyboard with the little pad on it that still has a do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
Really?
So sometimes I'll just lean over and I'll hit that and just let it play out. And I'm just like, that's such a sick intro.
That's
like,
awesome. It's funny, I actually bought his Yamaha piano.
Oh, yeah?
And so a lot of the sound effects the piano sound effects for like Come Destroyer are in there. So you can kind of like load it up and dun, 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 So it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, yeah. So yeah, let's start talking about some of the stuff you did. I think as far as I can tell, one of the most recent things you did is the song with Shelby Blondell, It's Not Goodbye, which is, like, I know you guys released it around the holidays, and it was kind of like, I think you were kind of playing into that as like it being a little bit of a holiday song. So tell me a little bit about writing that song and getting together and like how that whole thing came to be.
We talked about doing it on the podcast for a couple years. We were going to do Run, Run, Rudolph. We were just going to cover a Christmas song. And the more time that went by and that didn't happen, it would still come up in conversations, but I don't know who actually said, why don't we just write something of our own? But that's what ended up happening. So I started with kind of just a verse chorus kind of thing, and I sent that over to her, and then she wrote the second verse. And then we came up with the bridge, we got together, and then we kind of structured the whole thing out. And from there, we brought in this guy, Steven Cease, to play some drums. The studio session was really fast. I mean, we spent more time like eating snacks and coming up with unique snacks to eat. Like that, we were so focused on the snacks.
Did you make a podcast episode with her too while you're there? Because I know they do like a lot of episodes like that where they'll just her and Eric will do like here's top 10 candy bars or whatever.
She took enough video though when we were trying to do like little like promotional videos. She took enough video that she could have made it into a podcast.
Nice.
So she's really, really savvy with the social media. She's very good at marketing, and she's obviously got a great voice, and just somebody that if you ever have the opportunity to write music with Shelby, she's awesome.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I would definitely love to collab with her at some point. So I see her all the time, but like, I don't know, she's like another one of those people. I'm just like, she seems really busy. Everyone wants to talk to her.
She
just want to like high five her and keep going. But
then she came to me. This was like, I guess a couple days before her. She ended up having this event over at Stages. It was some type of a benefit. And she's like, do you want to play it live? Well, her and I hadn't played it live. We had never played it front to back. So at first I was like, I don't know, Shelby. I think we should, maybe get together and practice it before we take it live. But then there was just something inside of me. It was like, whatever. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And we did it, and it turned out great. And then we did go to play Run, Run, Rudolph anyway. So we did that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So that song's out now. People can go check it out.
We're not done with it either. We're gonna shoot a video for it, because that's the thing. Like, the songs are always here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you have to, as the artist, fight that as much as you can. So we're gonna do some type of a video, whether we go up to Manor Mill and actually just set up on the stage and film it there.
Yeah.
Or go to Freedom Church where I did the Cross and Crown video. Someplace where we can get in for free, hopefully, and then. The work is done on the camera people, but...
Well, I'm looking at buying a camera.
Are you?
And getting into a little bit of that. Like, I mostly am getting into it for me.
Yeah.
So that I can, like, make some cool videos and stuff. But, like, I do have a passion for, like, putting together, like, music videos and stuff. I've done it for people before. I've, like, filmed, like, videos on my phone and then edited it together to, like, a band song and given it to them. And most of the time they don't use it, but
It's pretty impressive what you can do, though.
Yeah,
You've got 3 cameras facing me right now. I mean...
Yeah, that's just so that I can, it's just like the trick of every time you do, like, a cut or whatever, I think it just, like, keeps people engaged.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It makes it seem kind of, high end, but these cameras aren't very great. They're just
Well,
kind of like.
You saw that Grinch video, right? Did you see the Grinch video I did?
I don't know if I saw that one now.
Well, I just used my phone to do it. And it was just basically like I would set up and get an angle of myself running into the house, and then I would get an angle from behind myself, so you have that angle of me running into the house. And it was just like you just have to fuse it all together. I made a little storyboard.
It was funny too, because like the first time you came in here, for whatever reason.
You never saw How the Cock Stole Christmas?
No, I'll have to.
You need to see that.
I can't believe I missed it. I
Yeah,
feel like if
come
I
on.
knew that was a thing, I would have watched it. But yeah, when you were in here last time, like the table was a little bit more that way, and we were both sitting on the same side of the table.
Yes.
And I think that's because there was still a mess over there, so I didn't want to get that. But then like, I was like, why am I like I should be facing people when I'm talking to them.
Yes.
So there's a couple awkward podcasts where I was like, all right, like I need to fix that. But yeah. How the Cock Stole Christmas. That sounds amazing.
Well, literally, I had the costume for like an afternoon. So I didn't have a lot of time. I picked it up in the morning. I dropped it off at 2:00. So in that time, I had to learn it well enough to play it. I had the lyrics like in front of me, and I was just reading them, and I just did it as quick as I could, and it ended up being really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny.
So in addition to the Shelby Blondell song, you collabed with Old Man Jones. I just had John on the podcast. Mm-hmm. We were talking about all his music he's been working on, but we talked for a little bit about Come Undone, and
Yeah.
I thought that was such a cool, like, bluesy rock song. You mentioned going down to the Crossroads a bunch in it. I was like, that's pretty like kind
Robert
of...
Johnson. It starts off with that, or maybe it's not there anymore. Does it still start with this is a song about Robert Johnson or for Robert Johnson? Does it still say that in the beginning? I think it does.
Of the song Come
Yes.
Undone? I don't recall hearing that, but I could be wrong.
I don't think we scrapped it, but yes, it's about that.
It's about going down to the Crossroads. I've watched a bunch of Supernatural, and I just remember that being like a thing in that show where it was like you go down to the Crossroads and you can summon the devil and make a deal with them and stuff like that.
I mean, I suppose if you believe in that
And
kind of thing.
like they tie it into like blues performers and stuff like that we're always talking about it. But yeah, that show was pretty into like a lot of that mythology and supernatural stuff. So
I think the true story with Robert Johnson is, I think he basically isolated himself for a while. He practiced his craft like endlessly, and he came back a far better musician than he was. And people are like, "There's just no way." And he's like, "Well, he probably spent months just practicing and playing." You know, I don't know. I don't really know if he made a deal with the devil and became a better player,
I mean,
but maybe.
like I know that
Makes for a good story.
personally, if I put my mind to something like that, and I was practicing every day, I feel like I would get a lot better. It's just that I tend to keep my schedule pretty full. And
Do you ever hear a song that like you can't sing on its face, but you really want to learn how to sing it?
Yeah.
And if you keep focusing on it and working on it, you could finally sing that song.
right,
Well, if people never heard you sing like that before, and then suddenly you were doing it, they might be like, especially in that day and age where there wasn't like all this technology, they might be like, how did Will Sims learn how to sing like the guy from, I don't know, Nothing More, or whatever, you know? They would think it's supernatural. Maybe.
I mean,
That guy's got an incredible voice.
I feel like conspiracy theorists have always been there. So it's just like everybody has their own way of justifying things they don't understand.
I'm so tempted to get into politics, but we won't do it here on this podcast.
Yeah, I try to keep it positive, and I know we're in a tough spot, and I feel like we all want to say things, but we don't want to alienate anybody. So
I mean, I'm so tempted. Don't say it.
Fight it, Brad. Fight it.
Switch topics.
All right, so you said you've been working a lot on like playing
Yes.
acoustic guitar,
It's long
learning
overdue.
cover songs, but you've been putting out a bunch of songs the past year that are more that style. Under Brad Cox, you put out "Mary Said,"
Yes.
which was pretty cool acoustic jam. How like new is that song? Like, is it a song you've had that you decided to
It's
record?
pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
But I finally decided to go in and record it. I shouldn't say we. I say we, but no. There was no drums or bass or anything on that. That one in Full for Harder Times I recorded the same day. And it was just basically set up in the room, played through 2 tunes, and then Tony edited it, made it sound better. But Mary said, like, I wanted to get kind of back into where it all began. So it all began for me, like, in, like, 93, 4, 5, going up to the Ocean City Boardwalk, just sitting there, playing songs and collecting the money, hawking cassette tapes, and that kind of thing. And those were the kind of songs you wrote. I mean, you weren't going to write these big metal songs like Let No Hand
Right.
Hold Us Down. It wouldn't make any sense. And at the core of it, like, people were very receptive to that kind of thing. And I was like, not everything has to be this big complex thing. And so Mary said, I did deliberately with that song in Full for Harder Times, was like, I just want it to be basically acoustic and vocals, because then I can go out and play it exactly the way it is and not have to worry about, oh, well, that part's not there, that part's not there. So that's where that came from. And I started wanting to do more songs with all the projects where if I go out and play and people want to hear So I Heard, it's not a big deal. I can just go play it. So that's where Mary Said came from.
Yeah, I know, like, when I'm in the studio, I kind of have the mentality of I want to make it sound as good as possible, which I know sometimes doesn't always translate to this is how it's going to sound live.
Right.
Whereas I know, like, a lot of people, they like, well, this is what it's going to sound like when I play it. This is what I want people to be able to hear.
I love effects like anybody else, but there is also something really cool about the way a voice sounds completely dry. And so, like, if you listen to Full for Harder Times, there's very, very little effect on it. But then you hear all the nuance in your voice that just sounds like where it kind of subtly breaks. It kind of gets washed over with a good reverb. So I kind of like that.
I know a lot of people, they're very sensitive about little mistakes like that. But I always say that, like in a live setting, if you play a gig, like, how many times have it been, man, I messed up that one part, or I didn't nail this part, or something. It's like, yeah, man, but the audience is getting, like, this unique performance, man. Like, and I feel like that's almost what they're paying for. They could go listen to the song in a perfectly recorded format with no mistakes, but you up there on stage just, doing what you do, like, and I don't know what that was, the danger of, like, anything could go wrong at any time. Your amp could catch on fire, or like the sound system could cut out. I mean, I remember we played. You remember the Mid-Atlantic Rock reviews? They were around.
I do, yeah.
Like 10 or so years ago.
Rocky Marr and
yeah.
And
they would always, like, take videos of everyone's show, and we did that. They did this charity show.
Are they still around?
I think so. I don't know. I'd have to look. I know that I feel like last time I checked, they were still doing stuff, but it's been a minute. But they were doing this, like, charity show at this, American Legion, like, place, and all these bands were playing. Like, Clear for Takeoff was there. Just a lot of bands from that time. And Roll It Over did a set, and we got up there, and, like, halfway through our set, like, power to half of the stage just cut out. And so, like, I had to give my guitar to Joe so Joe could play guitar. And, like, they couldn't, like, fix it. They couldn't figure out why it went out. It was just like, okay, well, I guess we got to finish our set like this. And they had no remorse. They were like, all right, cool, you guys got 5 minutes. It's like, well, what about the 5 minutes we lost when the building lost power? Like, just goofy stuff like that where you're just like, man. Like, and I know that feeling because you've done gigs where it's like, like someone else plays over and then they come back to you and they're like, oh, like, we need you to play a shorter set because they overplayed.
Yes, I've had a couple meltdowns on stage about stuff like that. I've tried to control my emotions. I remember specifically one show where the power went out on stage, and we don't know this, but there was a headliner. I don't remember who it was, but at the time they were somebody, and they didn't like the fact that there weren't a lot of tickets sold for the event, so they didn't want to play the headlining slot anymore. So they went on, like, the mid slot or whatever. And so we ended up playing last. And while we're playing, we're like 2 or 3 songs in, and all the power cuts out to the entire sound system. Well, I have like a little bit of a temper tantrum. I throw the mic down, and I'm like looking at the owner guy. I'm like, come fix this, because there was no sound guy. So he comes walking over, and he goes in the back, and the entire thing had been unplugged, and the guys were still back there. So we think that maybe the band unplugged it and then got on the road. We don't know that, but we were.
That's crazy.
We've had those kind of experiences.
That's nuts.
Anyway.
Well, so you put out some solo music, but then also Skitzo Calypso has been putting out new music, which is awesome.
We had to get over that hump, that idea that, like, in order to put out new music, it had to be me, Brian, and Gary. Once we knew that Brian was okay with Gary and I moving forward with or without him in terms of the recording, that opened everything up. So we didn't want to do that without his blessing. So Brian isn't, unfortunately, on any of these new tunes. We got about 6 tunes tracked at this point, but that's a choice. He doesn't love recording. It's just that's not what he enjoys. He enjoys playing. So I think going to the studio a lot of times stresses him out, and it's just like, if it's not fun, why am I doing it? But he loves to play live. So like when the opportunity to do that show came up, he was the first one, and he's one of those people. He just doesn't respond in Messenger. He's just like the way he is. But he was the first one to be like, yeah, I think we should do this. It'll be fun. It's like, oh, okay. Well, it sounds like Brian's on board for that. So yeah, we started with re-recording some of the first songs off Join the Cult, because we wanted to see what those songs would sound like today. So we did Shooting Down on America and False Creed. And then we started kind of fresh with So I Heard. Like, it was a bit of space between us. So we did So I Heard, then I did With the Wolves I Cried with Shane Schisler on lead, and then there was that song Stepping Stone that I did with the Weatherly guys.
And those were Stepping Stone and So I Heard were both kind of more acoustic style tracks too.
So was With the Wolves I Cried. And then there was the Wasted Piano. I feel like How Sick Am I? So we are going in, because we know for a fact that, that some of our fans are probably like, what the hell are you doing? We're doing what we do,
right,
whatever we want. But we are going to do like a heavier tune,
Nice.
So people don't think that we're just having fun being creative. But
yeah, I mean, I remember you posting a little bit about Wasted Piano and how it came to be. Like, you guys were just kind of having to get together, and you just kind of were messing around, and it just became a song.
So this was an experience Gary had. So Gary went over his buddy's house, and I guess they got drunk, hanging out, and there was a piano there, and it was out of tune, and Gary I think he felt like, who cares if it's out of tune? We're drunk. Like, it doesn't matter. We just want to play some music. So and Gary doesn't write a lot of tunes. So he came to me, and he was just like, hey man, here's a verse chorus. He's like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'm not really sure, but he's like, help me put this together into something. So I wrote kind of like the inverse of the Shelby tune. I wrote like the back half of it, and then basically kind of helped him structure it together, and sent it back, and we went back and forth, and so that's where that came from. The whole idea being like, don't waste the opportunity to make music just because the circumstances aren't perfect. So we got the tune recorded, and I remember just thinking to myself, like, this is not done, because that intro wasn't there yet. And I was like, Gary couldn't make the session, but I was like, what if we do like something in the beginning, like Queen-like, And so I remember just like walking through Wegmans, and the idea for the intro popped in my head, and went into Tony, and we did it, sent it to Gary. He's like, I was not expecting that. And I think that's really what pushed it over the edge. So really though, I want to give credit where it's due. I mean, that was something that Gary wanted to see come to fruition.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how, like, the different ways songs come into being. And yeah, I remember listening to that and being like, it's funny how you can hear that it almost kind of started as like just like a party jam. Mm-hmm. But also, like, you know, it also works as a Skitzo Calypso song. So
it was funny because like we both had a totally different vision of what we wanted it to be. I wanted it to be like a Kinks song, like Waterloo Sunset or something like that. And I wanted that kind of production. So I go in there and I'm telling Tony, like, listen to some Kinks. That's what I'm going for because I thought it'd be really cool and juxtaposed to anything we'd ever done. Well, unbeknownst to me, while I'm in the other room, Gary's telling Tony what he's looking for. And so at some point during the session, I was like, Tony, did you listen to the songs? Like, why are the drums sound enormous? And he's like, well, Gary wants it to sound like this, and you want it to sound like this. And so I was like, make it sound however Gary wants it to sound. You know, it's more of his baby. So that's what happened. But
Tony's got a good ear for where a song needs to go, I think.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in addition to the new stuff, you've also been kind of re-releasing some of the old stuff too. I think trying to like remaster it and put it back out there.
Did get most of it out there at this point.
Yeah.
Last time I was on here, a lot of it wasn't done, and I didn't remaster all of it. I like the first record, like I can go in there, but you're like basically remastering something that was recorded terrible to begin with. So, you know,
Yeah.
you're just making it sound louder.
I think I know that I had done some stuff with like the AI audio separation stuff. Have you messed around with that at all?
Yes, I did actually, but it's always a little bit flawed. But there's definitely been songs that I actually like redone a song yet, but I know I could. There's one called, I think it's called Moises, where you can remove the vocals, and sometimes it's like pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But you have to leave the track in there still because there's like artifacts like reverbs and stuff. As long as you leave them in there and then you sing over like a clean track, it'll all sound all right.
Yeah, what I did, we actually used it for that little acoustic EP I put out.
Okay.
Because I recorded that on stage at Merriweather Post Pavilion.
Yeah.
But the guy that recorded it just recorded like the board mix, so it was just like one track with acoustic guitar and vocals. So I used the audio separation to get the vocals off of it, and then that way Tony could mix them individually and just kind of get them where they needed to be. That was before I even had my Taylor guitar, but I was playing it on this one, which is not bad, but
Yeah, but nice.
it's just not as good sounding as the Taylor.
There was a song so I had a couple songs when I put the new albums back out, or the old albums back out there, but I added a bunch of songs that were never released. One of those songs was a song called Id, and the reason I never released it was because the mix was absolutely atrocious. Well, the AI software that I found, it was able to separate all the tracks, every single one. So I was able to, at home, remix it, and then I took out the chorus and re-sang the chorus. So I did do that.
I've been messing around with it too with some old like board mixes from shows to varying degrees of success. Sometimes the board mix isn't great to start, so like once you start taking stuff out, you can just hear how in like a recording like that, like there's not really space for everything. So it's like you take the drums out and you can hear like the hint of a snare or a tom, but you're not getting like a full drum kit being played. But still, it's like really intriguing stuff.
It is.
I've been trying to see if there's anything like that, anything from like one of my older shows that I could maybe like get enough of it together that we could try to recreate it and make it sound like a little more listenable than. But yeah.
Well, I think that's where using AI is creative and it's cool. So there are people that are going to use it for nefarious purposes, you know, or ways to cheat. But if you're using it to like remove an old vocal so you can re-sing it, that's kind of cool. I think.
Yeah, and it's pretty good with the vocals. It's like if there's like 2 or 3 guitar players on a song and you try to remove the acoustic guitar, like that's when it's like you can't really tell the difference between one or the other because it's all on one track. So I've messed around with that. I've tried taking like a track and then I'll strip the vocals, and then I'll take the instrumental and I'll try to strip the bass and take it down that way. And then I've also done it the other way where I'll take the whole track,
What
try to take
software
the
do you
bass
use?
out. I think it's called. I know I have the email here because I've been waiting to look at it because they're always sending me emails basically saying we've upgraded the engine and it should be able to pick up this or that better, but it's like LAIAL dot AI.
LAILAL.
Or I'm sorry, LALAL LALAL.ai.
Okay.
And yeah, they've got a cool little website. You can just upload the thing there.
How much is it a month?
It's not for me. It wasn't a monthly thing. You pay for an amount of time for it to work on. So like if you're just doing a song, you could pay for like an hour and then like do like several runs at it. At least that's how they were doing it when I used it. I know I have a bunch of time on there I can mess around with, but then like once you run out of time, you gotta like add more time to it. But it's it's weird how they monetize these things, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So you've got Skitzo Calypso stuff going on. Any other cool stuff in the works music-wise?
Yes. So I've been working on an album, like a full-length album with Chris Mooneyhan. So we've gotten, I think, 4 or 5 tunes cut at this point. The whole thing's done. It's written. I just have to go track it. It's really, really, really good. Like, his production on those songs is great. And I cut the vocals with John Grant and Tony. So that's something I'm really proud of. Like, it's one of those projects where I look forward to listening to it. It's not just like I just got the song done.
Nice.
It's cool. Like, I go back, like, I really want to hear that song. So check that out. It's called C.A. Moon, like Camoon.
Yeah.
That's Christopher, I think it's Christopher Allen Mooneyhan or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what his middle name is. I don't care.
Yeah, Chris has been on the podcast, and so.
No, well, I've told him that C.A. Moon now means Coxon Moon. he's like, that's not what I want. I was like, well, that's what I got. So anyway, but definitely check that out. It should be done I want it done by this summer because I want to be able to sit on the beach and listen to it. So that's my goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you've also been like learning some covers and stuff too. Any fun ones you've been working on you're excited to play?
I haven't really been learning that many
Okay,
covers.
I know you said you were working on playing. You've got 2 hours of your music you're ready to play.
Yes.
But I wasn't sure if you've been working on any covers or anything.
I don't know. Like I'll pick up a song here and there if it's a song that I really like, not for the sake of playing it like live or anything, but like sometimes on a Sunday. I play it now so much that I kind of feel like it's my song, but it's not. It's the Glorious Sons, and I will probably play it at that show on March 14th.
Nice.
So I don't know. If I hear a song that I really, really like and I want to learn it, then yeah, I'll learn it. But I still don't know a lot of covers. I did sit down at one point, I learned like Hey Jealousy, and I learned just a bunch of like Gimmes. And I just never felt like going back and playing them again.
Yeah.
But, should the opportunity arise and I have to, I will. I would definitely stand up on the Black Eyed Susie's balcony.
You used to do a bunch of really great ones in Skitzo Calypso. I mean, I've
did.
heard you guys do Girls Not Grey.
That was underground, but yeah.
Oh, that's right. That was underground. But you got Skitzo did Epic, right? By Faith No More. And then obviously Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle.
I still remember the first time Kirby brought me to Wrecker to see you guys. And you guys went into that song. And it was just like so epic. I was just like, fuck.
I just found a video of it because Kevin's going to be playing that reunion show. Kevin Brown, bass player. And we used to do it as a 4-piece. And it's obviously not a 4-piece song, but we did it. And I found this video. And I was like, this is real. This was cool. But yeah, Jungle was in there. We would do, we did a lot at one point. Like we were going to the point where we were doing like 70-30 shows. Like when we would leave state, we would do like Epic, Start Me Up, You Could Be Mine, Master of Puppets, Youth Gone Wild. Like everything was we always wanted to do the songs that were like a lot of people would shy away from. Like Youth Gone Wild is not an easy song to do. So we tried to do that kind of thing. There's a lot of them. We had like 20 of them at one point.
That's cool.
Which we thought was a lot. We tried to do 2 a week.
That's kind of like what I'm trying to get to. I mean,
Remember Devour by Shinedown?
Yes.
We did
Devour,
that.
devour.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've been trying to get to that point where I just have like a list of like just sick covers that nobody else is playing.
You did it was Black Eyed Susie at the time, but you did that tub thumping song, and I love that song. Nobody does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had I usually get a good response from it. Usually people at least are like bobbing their heads, but
get knocked
we
down.
played it at Purple Moose, right? We were in our 4th set at the Moose, so it was like the
4,
last.
okay.
Yeah, they usually do 4 45-minute sets with the DJ in between.
Mm.
So usually the last set is like
The bangers.
it's like it's like 1:30 till like 2. Almost, it's like 1 till like 2 in the morning.
So are you
it's
cooling down at that point, or?
At that point, like the crowd has pretty much died out. You've basically got the people that are either sticking around to watch you, or they're just there
Or to go home with you.
They're closing down the bar.
Yeah.
And so I usually put like some of the chiller songs in that set, but I had tub thumping in that set. And when I played that, like everyone that was sit down at the bar got up and started dancing. And I was like, it was just one of those moments where everyone in the band's like looking at each other like, holy
We should have played
shit,
this at
like,
the 3rd set.
Yeah, like why didn't we play this earlier? But yeah.
So here's a fun fact you don't know, probably. I was in a cover band for an entire year that never wanted to go out and play live. So we got ourselves to like almost 3 sets of music. I mean, we were ready to go. And every week, I figured out after a year.
Just hurts my soul.
No, I know.
Hurts my soul.
Because I learned all these songs. Like, I literally knew all these songs. And it turned out, like, I think that the guy just wanted to drink in his basement with his friends. I was like, well, I don't want to play for you every week. I want to go play for people. So it just never materialized. But it was cool. I mean, we did, like, Honky Tonk Women and a lot of the Doors, and which I know Joe loves the Doors. He always feels that goes over real well. I'm joking. You guys did, what was it, Roadhouse Blues? He's like, I'm never playing that song again.
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean, we literally emptied out Ram's Head Live.
But do you think it was the song, really, or was it just maybe people were moving on to the next spot?
I felt like we had, because we were doing live band karaoke.
Okay.
So we were trying to get people to sign up. And like initially that's what we were supposed to be doing the whole time, but when we started it out, like people were just coming in and watching us, and I like don't think it had registered. Hey, like go over there and sign up and come up and sing with us.
Yeah.
So we kind of planned to do like kind of anything that like we didn't think people might pick.
Right.
And so we did that song, and like, you know, there was maybe like 50, 60 people in there that were sitting there like watching us having a good time. As soon as we started playing that song, they all just kind of looked at each other and they all just left, like everyone.
And did you ever play it again?
No, we never played it again after that. That was the last. That was the nail in the coffin.
Because I feel like at like a place like the Purple Moose, that would go over real well.
It might. I mean, we talked about how it might work at like, you know, like certain biker bar type establishments. But I mean, you know, it's like it was. We did a fine version of it. It wasn't like we did anything special, but it was still just like one of those things where the bad experience was already like enough to ruin it. And
I feel like it's actually partly my fault that song even ended up in your set list. Because Underground did it with that guy Chris Potter, and Chris Potter was in that cover band that I was talking about. And so I suggested, like at an Angels show, I was like, well, why don't we do Roadhouse Blues? It did not clear the room out, so I don't know, man.
I mean, you know, the Doors got some cool songs, man. Like it's a shame that.
But the guy was playing the exact piano part.
Yeah.
Did you have a piano player to do that?
No, we were just doing it with guitar. We had, you know, we have Pat and Tim on guitar, and you know they play the shit out of those instruments, man.
Yeah,
those
they
guys
do.
are both amazing.
They are.
So I mean, and you know, it felt like we had a nice groove going. You had Cody Cook on the drums. He can drive any song.
Dude,
you know,
that guy's voice is good.
yeah. And so
He does it so effortlessly, like
yes.
like.
One of my favorite things about Phantasm shows would be if we did the song "Separate Ways" by Journey. Cody would sing it, and there wouldn't really be anything for me to do. So I'd usually walk off stage if like we were like at a bar gig. I would be running sound, so it'd be my chance to just kind of sit out there and make sure the mix is good, and just listen to this band, listen to my band play that song. and they were so good. Like it
Yeah.
was so good. You know, and yeah, I love that song, but I just can't hit those Journey notes like you're supposed to. Like I can do like a falsetto cop out, but like you want someone to hit them notes. Like
So let's talk about Cody for a second. Was he a singer at a point in his life? Because
I don't know.
I mean, in order to like really comfortably sing like that, I mean, you have to be practicing. He's got to be doing something. It just doesn't naturally come out of people.
Yeah, like I've never heard him mention anything about singing before, and honestly, like when we started
Impressive.
Phantasm, he just kind of mentioned he could sing. He was just like, yeah, I can do some singing if you need to, and you know he was singing harmonies and stuff. He was on point with that. But yeah, then there was a certain point where it was just like, hey, we want to do this song. Will, can you sing it? And I was just like, I don't know. I got there, and then Cody would be like, well, let me take a crack at it. And he'd sing and be like, yeah, you can sing that.
Yeah.
It's no joke. So I don't know if it was something that he just kind of fell into or if he, you know, has done it before and, you know.
Cody,
so,
very talented, man. Very,
Yeah.
very talented.
he, you know, and since then he's done like he did like some of those all-star jams where he'd get up and sing a song, which is pretty cool.
He would do like,
And
he
he
did
also-
the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he do Bon Jovi, like,
Living on a Prayer? Yeah.
because that second chorus is pretty high.
Yeah, the one at the end of the song
Yeah.
where it goes up
And he goes into a falsetto
like
for that.
3 half steps
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, we would all have to band together to like really make it through the end of that song because it was, you know, Kevin also has a really high like voice range. Like he could sing a lot of the ones Cody can sing, but none of us could solo that end of that Bon Jovi song. We all kind of had to come together for it, but yeah,
Well,
man.
Bon Jovi can't do it, so
Yeah, well, I mean, that's why they have like 50 backup singers or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cody used to sing Cody does sing like a bunch of great songs. And actually, he did a gig with them where he was the front man, and Chris played drums.
Okay.
So I think there was like a gig where Kevin couldn't do it, and they needed to do the gig. So Cody was like, "I'll sing."
That's
So
awesome.
I was like, I wish I could have been there for that.
yeah. Very
But,
talented.
But yeah, man, those guys are all great. Like I loved playing with them. You know, I'm happy with what I'm doing now, but you know, we had a lot of good times playing with Phantasm. Any any hope for a We Love the Underground reunion?
I don't know that there'll be a reunion, but I have thought about rebooting the project. Probably what I'm going to do is remaster The Day the Devil Fooled the World. It's getting close at this point to like 15 years, and I'd like to hear what it would sound like remastered anyway. And there's some songs on the cutting room floor, so may
nice.
re-release those. And yeah, so I don't know if there'll be a reunion. I told the band when Eric left that I probably was just gonna fold shop on it, but it was a lot of albums and music that I was very proud of. And if it gets rebooted, I'll probably extend the offer. Like if you guys want to be a part of it, you're obviously welcome. But if you don't, that's fine too. I'm gonna move forward with it. So I may. I mean,
You said it was kind of similar to Skitzo in that it kind of basically started with just you, and then you kind of started bringing other people in.
It started because Skitzo didn't. Well, it's the same way Nicky Thunder started. They didn't want to continue going to the studio as frequently, like your situation. Like my ambition was just, you know, like way ahead. So I just started recording these songs. It started back in 2009. So it wasn't until I think 2013 that we became a band, and Eric joined the fold, and then Eric brought in Pat. So at that point, the Day the Devil Fooled the World was out, Mouthful of Graffiti was out, and then I'd started what would be the third one. I had like 3 or 4 songs done for that, and then Eric came in, and we finished that record with Pat, and then the full band. So yeah, it was a solo project that became a band. So, but I always felt it was a respectful thing to do because when Eric quit, I felt like everybody knew that the band existed because of the band, and we did it for like 4 years. So I didn't feel like when Eric decided to move on, like it was right to just replace him, like he was just another guy. But it's also enough time has passed at this point. I think he'd be like, if you want to be a part of it, you're obviously, I would love to have you, but there's a lot of really great songs, and that was a good band. So
Yeah, I mean, you guys did so much cool stuff. You had the children of the program books that kind of tied into
I
it.
was looking for them. I knew they were down here. Oh, there they are.
Yes, up there. And and uh, and yeah, like you know, like everything. Like I obviously had the great stuff beforehand, but like having Pat and Joe and Eric, writing on songs was epic.
I try to impress upon them, like, and you know this too, and they probably know this too. But like at some point, the thing that made that band so cool was you had 5 guys who were all very good at what they did, and they all liked each other and were friends. That takes a long time. There's always like a couple outliers sometimes, and,
Yeah.
and it was just like a really perfect band, and unfortunately, I think we hit like the glass ceiling. I think people, we all started feeling like, well, we can continue doing this, but it's not going to get any bigger. So I think people maybe started losing some interest in the whole thing. But
Yeah, I mean, when Roll It Over was kind of reaching its end, it was kind of one of those things where it felt like every few months someone was like ready to quit the band, and then they would kind of walk it back, and so I kind of felt like it just needed to end in what it was, and then like I kind of wanted like what essentially became Will Sims to be a continuation of Roll It Over, but then like after like backlash from band members and just kind of like that, the kind of discussion of what like that album meant to everybody and how everyone saw the band. It like I kind of thought about it a little more and realized like I should respect what it was and not try to I don't know, like cannibalize it into what like it would just essentially would be just me putting together a band and playing the songs, But so I eventually decided to go the route of just being a solo artist. But
yeah,
I think that kind of kept the album feeling like this special thing that we did together.
yeah.
But it's out there at least. That's always the trick. Is I've I mean, how many bands have we played with that like release good music, but like you can't find it anywhere now because they maybe put it on a CD, but then
Right.
everyone just kind of forgot it existed, So, so we're lucky in that regard.
Yeah. I would like to put some of that stuff onto CD that never made it to CD. Like Veteran Avenue was getting up to like 30 songs, and it's never been on a physical medium. So if like the satellites fall out of the sky, it didn't happen.
I've thought about that too. Like
It just didn't happen, I guess.
making sure I have something in physical form.
Right.
Heaven forbid, an asteroid hits, and all the future survivors have is the time capsule that's in my backyard.
All I
or
got
whatever.
is a copy of Join the Cult. And
If only this band released more music.
we got
Well, they
better.
did.
We did.
Cool, man. So got a lot of cool stuff coming up.
Well, yeah, and then of course we can you and I are going to do a song at some point, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
I mean, really, just it's like the Shelby thing or the John thing. Like somebody's got to be the catalyst to get it started, and then we'll get something going.
Yeah, it's always the trick of finding the right, just having the right song come about that feels right.
Right.
I know Tony and I have been talking about doing like an industrial style album forever.
Really?
And so like I think that like there'd probably be a cool spot for you to be on.
That'd be awesome.
Something like that.
That's what he should do. He should do like a Veteran Avenue thing where he does like an industrial project with different singers or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of has steep steps, but
I know, but yeah, he doesn't seem like he's done much with that recently. But yeah.
I remember he did a podcast interview after one of his songs came out, and he was just like, Tony was saying how he had recorded all these songs and they were done. He just needs someone to remind him to release them. So every
He's
time
very strategic.
Every time he would make a post, I would type release more Steep Steps music just to like kind of troll him a little bit. And he did put a few songs out, and a couple of them seemed like they did pretty well. But yeah, Tony's a brilliant musician and writer, and
He is so brilliant.
it's so fun being in the studio working with him, and just the ability he has to like I'll explain something to him and how I want a song to sound. He'll just go into the library of sounds and create that sound with
Yeah.
everything he's got. And he's just got such a deep well of knowledge of Pro Tools and all the tools at your disposal. So
We've actually, I told you we're going to go record a new Skitzo tune, a heavier one. Well, some of these tunes, like I do, without having to like recreate the entire song, I would like to hear what they would sound like remixed now. So like Until My Heart Stops Beating, we're going to do kind of a remix, may recut some things. Maybe a lot of the songs were never really finished. They were just finished to a point.
Yeah.
Where, like, that's good enough, put it out there. And so we're going to be bringing that one out from the grave.
dude, you guys should have, like, recorded you guys should do like a show and record it and release like a live, album or something.
That'd be awesome, man. I would love to capture whatever this show is on May 31st.
Yeah.
With Kevin and that guy, Robbie Kaminsky. Robbie's a great player. Just give him a shout out because he's not like he's not the guy walking around with his peacock plume out like I am all the time. Like he's kind of reserved. His feathers are pulled in. He's just walking around, But anyway, he's a great player. Robbie Kaminsky, guitar player, good friend of Gary's. Originally, the plan was I reached out to Pat, and Pat has a gig that night. And I know that you guys used to have some fill-ins, so I still reached out to Joe too, but he's got to do the gig too. So, and it was just easier to reach out to them first because they've done it and they know the songs.
Yeah.
But then, like, when that kind of folded up, I was like, oh, well, I guess I've taken this show now. We should probably put a band together. So I reached out, just kind of Hail Mary to the guy, Kevin Brown. Now, Kevin Brown, he was in the band from, like, 2002 to 2007. So he was in there for hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of shows. I mean, he was in there. He played on the very tail end of The Shattering. He played on all of Between the Lines. Great player. And he's like, yeah, man, I'd love to do it. I'm like, what? And so he's going to be playing the bass. We're excited to see him, and he's excited to do it. So in a lot of ways, like that 2002 to 2007 lineup was like, that's what a lot of the people remember. There was just so many shows, and Cherry Teresa, Kevin Brown, the whole thing. So he'll be there. If I can fly Cherry out, even if it's just to play a song, I will do it. I don't know if you ever saw the lineup with Cherry Teresa.
I think I did. I think I remember her playing keys on a song or something like that.
Yeah, she's
I saw you guys
family.
a bunch of times at Wrecker, so.
Yeah, she's family. So anyway, so Kevin Brown is going to be playing the bass. Robbie's going to play the guitar, and I think it's going to be a killer show because everybody's excited to do it.
That's awesome.
So.
Yeah. I'm excited to. I'm really hoping that I can make it, but like I've got so many gigs lined
Surprised
up.
you're not playing it.
Yeah. All right. So, since the last time you were here, I've implemented some silly, fun questions.
Oh, good.
To throw at people, just to kind of.
I love this.
Just to see if I can stump you or get your brain juices flowing about stuff. So some of these are just real nonsense, and some of them are just fun. But all right, here's the first one. Can you remember a dream that you've had?
Can I remember a dream that I've had?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember a lot of them. I'll tell you a funny, or not funny story. It's actually a tragic story. But I had a dream that I accepted a new position at the college. And in the dream, I could picture myself in this cubicle on a rainy day. I could picture who was around me and the whole thing. And so, oddly enough, out of nowhere, a couple weeks later, and the dream sat with me. It felt very visceral and very real. I get a phone call from this girl, and she's like, hey, have you ever considered working in this department? And I was like, no. And she's like, you should check it out. And it was a close enough fit. Basically, it was still events, but I wouldn't have to do the weekends, and it was going to pay more. I was like, And I've been doing the cultural events for 4.5 years, so I was like, okay. And so anyway, long and the short is, I got to the point where I had to make a decision whether I was taking this job. It was Tuesday, 4:58 in the afternoon. I had to let them know by 5. I literally deliberately waited to the very last minute because I was hoping when I called that the HR person wouldn't answer and that the decision would be made for me. Because it got to the point where there was like a lot of very higher up people that wanted me to pursue this or try this. Anyway, I called. I took the job, and I ended up going to start. And the day I started, it's like out of nowhere, like this rainstorm came in, and I'm sitting in this room, and it's gray, and the girl that I was sitting next to was the girl of my dream. The room was from my dream, and it was all like, oh my God, this is like a premonition. And I knew that I was unhappy, or I was going to be unhappy. So it was just this whole thing. And then I basically worked that job for 10 months, 11 months actually, 11 months, almost 12, almost a full year. And I didn't know if I was going to be able to go back. It's like when Superman in Superman 2 gives up his superpowers so he can be with Lois. And he's basically told, like, you can't become Superman if you do this. So anyway, I lost my superpowers in the events world, but I'm back. So got to go back. So yes, I've had a dream that I remember.
It's funny because it's funny how much of it almost feels like you had like a whole story. You remember? Mm-hmm. I remember like little details. Like there's one I remember from when I was a kid, and I don't remember a lot of things about it, but I do remember I was standing out in that street that's in front of my house, and at the end of the street where you like turn onto this road, mm-hmm. there was a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And maybe it was like right after I'd seen Jurassic Park or something the first time, so it was like kind of lit in my head. But I remember that. And then more recently, like after my father had passed away, like maybe like a month later, I had this dream where like he just like suddenly reappeared, and like in my dream it was like you died, and it was almost just kind of like this. Well, no, not really. Like
I'm still here.
Like, and it was like so bizarre. Like just very like I remember waking up and just being like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
So,
but the thing about it is like you can have a dream where you literally warn yourself not to do the thing, and you still do the thing. Like I knew before I made the decision in my dream that like. I knew if I made this decision, I might be really unhappy because my dream warned me. Yeah.
So, before we do the next fun question, let me throw this like nugget of information out there. So, next Saturday, I'm gonna get on a plane. I'm gonna go to Turks and Caicos.
Okay.
For the week.
Oh wow.
I'm going with some family members.
Cool.
Like it's been in the works for like almost a year at this point. So I'm like really excited to go. But there's also like a little bit of that like, what if something happens? Like especially like what if the plane crashes or what if I don't know, anything could happen.
Anything could happen.
And so like I've had a little bit of this mentality of like, all right, well let me get done like everything before I go, like just in case something happens.
Yeah.
Like just get everything and then like have like. If anything happens to me, like there'll be like an envelope. It explains everything that I want. Like, do you ever like have weird thoughts like that?
All the time. Every time I get on a plane, really, I think this could be it. So yes, I have it all the time, and I don't know if it goes away.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like, just because, like I know you can get in the car any day of the week and someone could crash into you, but like I guess this feels like a bigger roll of the dice than normal, especially lately. With
have you been on a lot of planes?
I've been on a few planes. Like I've got maybe like about once a year.
It's only like 2 hours, isn't it?
To Turks and Caicos, I think it's like 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. It's like in the Caribbean.
Yeah, you'll be all right.
So
you're
I mean, I guess because of all the plane crashes and stuff lately too, it's like, great. It's a couple weeks and now every plane's crashing. That's great.
Right. There's been like 5 of them.
So, but yeah, so that was just kind of weird thoughts been going in my head. So in other words, this podcast will be done and up on YouTube before I leave.
Oh.
So it will release no matter what happens, but.
well, don't die.
I'll just be sitting there like, oh, come on. It'll be like that Alanis Morissette song. I'll just think, well, isn't this nice?
You waited his whole damn life just to take that flight.
All right, name a sport or a game that you just don't understand, but people love it.
A sport or a game that people love that you don't quite understand? Oh, I don't know. I think you start getting into those weird ones like shock put, or even that thing with the big oboe thing. No, not an oboe. The, the thing where you go over the thing with the big stick. What's the big stick called? Pole vault.
Pole vault, yeah.
With the oboes. Yeah, the long.
That's what they call the sticks.
No, the oboes are the instruments, but I'm thinking of oboes.
Thinking musically.
But yeah, pole vaulting, like that's an interesting sport. Like, but I guess a lot of people don't love it. I mean, I guess enough people love it. I don't know. It's not my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I respect that. Like, you know, there's Olympic sports and stuff like that, but like, I guess I don't understand how.
Did you see it last year where the guy was pole vaulting and his junk got caught on the bar at the top?
Yeah.
It did. It literally did. He was wearing spandex, obviously, and it caused the bar to fall. And he's like, "Can you imagine? Like if you had to lose, that's the way to lose."
Yeah, but it's like I understand stuff like certain like gymnastics things as like as like competition because it's, you know, but then like using like a stick to like jump over a bar, it seems like a little weird. But
it seems very like something that we took from the Greeks or something, like the Greek theater or whatever. I don't know, the Pantheon. All right.
All right. What's something you wish you had never seen?
I don't know. There are things. I don't know, man. I've seen some things.
That's such a great response. Oh, man. So many things.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a really... I don't think any of the answers would be appropriate anyway.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. If you could have an animal sidekick, what kind would it be?
It'd be Biggie Paws. It'd be my dachshund. I mean, he's so loyal and so... He's just the best. He is like Corinthians in a nutshell. He's patient. He's kind. He's understanding. He's a maniac. He's perfect. So it'd be Biggie Paul's sidecar.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is there a song you thought you knew the words to, but then you found out that they were not what you thought they were?
There's been lots of songs like that. And then I get kind of disappointed.
Song you had to like sing at a show or something and been like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, there's been tons of those, but like Roadhouse Blues, he obviously does that ad-libbing part, honka-chooka, honka-doo, whatever.
Yeah.
There's that. I don't know what I thought he was saying, but there's also just the way he used to kind of slur words together. You just kind of, your mind makes up words, and then those become the words, and then they're not the words, and that can throw you off a little bit. So I'd say Roadhouse Blues would be one.
So, since I started doing like my own gigs and stuff, that's been kind of the chance to learn to just do whatever songs I want to do. And there's so many times I'll be learning a song and I might be like on ultimate guitar, like looking at the chords and then be like, wait a minute, this says it's this. And then I go on Google, wait a minute, that says it's this. And I'm like, then I listen to the song, I'm like, wait a minute, he is saying that. Like, how did I get this wrong? But
misheard lyrics.
All right, last one. If you could wake up tomorrow with a new skill, what would it be?
I'd like to be able to play drums, and
That's a good one.
Because then, I literally could do the whole studio session.
I've done a little bit of my own drumming. Usually needs a little bit of editing, but I've gotten away with it. I think that if I sat up there and played drums once a week, or not, like 2 or 3 times a week, I could be really good.
I think it would be really frustrating if Tony was like really great at the guitar. You ever written a piano part and taken it into Tony's studio and then played it for him? You just like, it doesn't matter how, like, it's just no matter how complicated it might be, it sucks compared to what he can do, and you have to sit there and present that to him. I did a song called Hello Fire and I did a song called I'm a Lie, and they're both relatively simple piano parts, like in I guess the level of like Home Sweet Home, but they're my piano part. And I'm like showing it to him. He's like, I can just feel the judgment all over me. Like, I know it sucks. Make it sound good, you know, like, or it's just not going to be as complicated as what you would do.
Yeah, he,
Can you imagine if he was a guitar player? Like,
Well, I mean, there's been time. Yeah, I could see how. Like, if
Nice lead, bro.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously Tony is like the most chill, fun,
He
cool
is.
person to work with, but there's definitely been times where I brought in like a part and been like, yeah, here's, it's got piano on it, but like, you know,
Yeah.
you know what you're doing, and he'll play a part, and like I'll literally like start welling up, like, fuck, Tony, just like setting the room on fire over there.
Yeah.
But then there's also times where it's like, I'll go somewhere and record a piano part, and then he'll just be like, well, this doesn't really make sense, and like,
Well, it did to me.
I thought it was really good, but yeah, like he like there's so many songs, especially on this new album that I've got coming out this year. There's a couple songs that he did a lot of piano on, and I'm really love how they turned out.
I can't wait to hear it, man.
And then also just like anytime I'm like put some weird shit on there, like he'll go and find the weird shit for me.
Good.
So
the more the weird shit, but the better.
but
Get
yeah,
some
man,
Moogs on there.
Today's Sunday, so yeah, tomorrow the first song's releasing. It'll be the song that was on the sampler CD.
Okay.
So that'll be releasing officially.
On the spots.
Yeah,
and all
on
the places.
Spotify, Apple, all the good places.
Dude,
so.
I didn't realize like how poor Spotify sound quality is. It sucks. Like you don't realize it until you go and listen to like something on either Tidal or Apple. Because when you go to Tidal or Apple, it sounds like it did when he sent you the mix.
Yeah.
And then you go and listen to it on Spotify, and you hear it like after another song, and it's like, what the hell happened? So then I'll A/B like Apple or Tidal and Spotify. I'm like, yeah, it's remarkably different. Remarkably different. Yeah.
I know that they have settings on Spotify where you can change like the quality of the playback.
Really?
I think that there's some settings in there for that, but I do think in general it's considered one of like the lesser in terms of quality. It's more, and I mean I'm generally like listening to it in my car or at work where there's ambient noise that's kind of blocking it. But like I always like I always think it would be nice to just have like a night of the week that I set aside where I would just sit down and like put on some headphones or like set up some nice speakers and just like listen to music for like 30, 40 minutes.
Yeah, you always have to make time for it.
Yeah. Luckily, I'm in my car a lot, so most of the time I get time there to kind of put on music. But even then, it's like you don't really get to focus on it and absorb it. So, but yeah, man. So I appreciate you coming to do this. I'm looking forward to seeing. Coming to do this again, I should say.
Yeah.
Obviously, I got to get back on the Mog at some point.
You do.
We're doing the Mog live. I'm excited for that. Hopefully we don't get snowed out, but like I said, that Maryland weather can go either way.
I'll be prepared either way because my luck, I won't be prepared, and then we'll be doing the show.
Yes.
So, but yeah, it's going to be great. Actually, the 1 year anniversary of the Mog Live is in March, and I've already got a amazing artist booked for it. I can't say it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be. We're only doing 3 artists on that particular event, so this person can play a little bit longer because they're that much of a big tuna. But
Awesome.
Yeah, and the person that got the slot to play with this tuna, she's a guppy. She's very young. Like she's just starting her journey. So I think it's really a cool like juxtaposition.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, really awesome opportunity for her to come out of the gates, and she deserves it. She's very talented. So we'll be announcing that probably Friday, February the 21st.
Nice.
Boom.
I look forward to hearing it.
Yeah. I can't say it now, but yeah.
Thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, man. Good times.
Check out the links in the description to hear more music from Brad Cox.